Hi, I would love to share with you guys today about my experience of reawakening my relationship with God. For those who don't know me, my name is Dominique Crusella. I'm a homeschool mom of two boys with my husband. We live in Florida on a few acres and I'm putting energy into this YouTube channel. And I don't know where it's going, but I know I need to self-express. I need to express myself and just share. So today, I got inspired to share with you this story, this part of my life of my relationship with God. I was raised without any spiritual beliefs or practice. Anything was open. I was open. It was open for me to explore, speculate, to search and find answers. Um, and I appreciate that. And my parents gave me space to come to my own understanding in my own spiritual life. So there is space and there is respect for my process and my journey. When I was a teen, I tried to be Christian, and the way that Christianity was presented to me at that time made me very fearful because everyone I knew would go to hell forever to be punished if they weren't Christian in a specific way. And that really terrified me because my parents gave no indication that they were about to become Christian, and I had friends and family, and it was like, this is uh very difficult for me. So I didn't stop being Christian, but I just sort of paused because I was like crying and really distressed about it. And my father tried to comfort me, and so um I needed to pause on that. But then when I moved out and I was in my 20s, I tried to attend. I found a friend who said, "Yeah, I'm Christian too. Like, let's go try out different churches in this college town that we were living in." And I remember my favorite church it wasn't really Christian. It was a Unitarian Universalist. And at the same time, I wasn't really inspired to keep going, so I didn't continue with that. And I explored different new age concepts with friends for a few years, and then I explored being atheist for a few years, and I just sort of stayed like, I sort of stopped doing like there is no God to like I don't know, and just sort of open-minded again without any question or exploration from like the atheism was probably age 23 to 26, and then from age 26 to 33 or 34, I really didn't explore anything. It was like, yeah, I have spiritual beliefs, but I wasn't really thinking about them. I wasn't really questioning anything. It was just trying to be a good person. Um, and I met my husband when I just was about to turn 29. Yeah, so 28, almost 29. And we started a family and got married and started to have kids. We had two kids, and um, I wasn't really exploring anything, but something had happened where I learned a lot about the climate, about like the planet warming up and pollution. And I was really concerned for Mother Earth and for humanity and for my children's future here. And I got really focused on it. And I felt like this was the biggest crisis facing humanity. And so at this time, I was probably 33 or 34. And I think 34. And I had this period of like a few days, like maybe 5 days, where I was not really grounded. I was actually having all these ideas of how I was kind of an illusion, or I was kind of got ungrounded. Um, I couldn't sleep. I was pacing. I was crying. I was trembling. I was having all these ideas of how to solve this global crisis. I mean, it was kind of like, yeah, it was ungrounded, and I was like, wow, I feel really like this, like I'm not functioning in my regular day-to-day life. And I think I'll need some sort of spiritual process to ground me, because um these great leaders of change, like I was thinking of Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., they had a strong spiritual basis. So I thought I'll need some sort of basis. I didn't know what that would be. But right in that period, within that few days, my friend called me and said, "Hey, would you like to come to this 7-day intense, like, personal growth seminar?" And I knew it had a spiritual angle, and I was like, this is actually the solution to what I need right now, because I need something to ground me. And had always been interested in doing personal growth stuff. And this organization, I had been to the 3-day seminar, and now there's a 7-day one. So I was qualified to get to that 7-day one, and it started like in 8 days. So it was like I had a week to arrange, my husband to hang out with our 21-month-old and our 2-year-old, and they were fine. And I went, and it was profound. And at the end of that seminar, I was so blown away by the facilitators and their incredible service to every soul that attended that seminar. I think there was like 13 of us. This is in 2014. So I was like 34. And now it's 2023 and I'm 43. 9 years ago. So it was incredible. And I was sort of amazed, like, what is behind these people and this seminar? And it was just so profound, seeing each person's transformation and my personal experience. I was just blown away by the 7 days. And I wanted to know more, like what happened. And at the last day of the seminar, I was sitting and I was surrounded by these people of a particular faith tradition. And the facilitators of this seminar had that same faith tradition. And at the same time, it wasn't apparent. It was like they were providing universal principles, universal practices, and experiences for any spiritual path. And they weren't sharing their faith tradition in the seminars. So I asked one of them, Marie, I asked, how did you come up with what you had said and suggested for me? So there was a part of the seminar, like, how did you come up with that? And she said, I prayed on it and God told me. And I was like, not used to an answer like that. Like, what do you mean? God told you? And hold on a moment. So she said, well, I pray to God and things come to me, ideas and realizations come to me through prayer and through my relationship with God. And the way that she shared it with me, I don't remember all the details, but it brought tears to my eyes. And I was like, I don't have a relationship with God. And that's really touching to me. I don't know why I'm crying. Hold on a minute. Oh, okay. I have family right behind the door and they're opened it, but they just tossed recycling out on the porch. So I was like really touched by her sharing. And the people that were sort of surrounding me, there was 3 people. They were all really compassionate, empathetic, and present with me. And my experience of crying over the idea of God and how touching that would be. And dinner had ended, and one of them, Ganesham was his name, Ganesham, he stayed with me. And I was like, I don't know why I'm crying. Like, I just had pouring tears. And he's like, well, it's really touching to conceive of God as a person and to have a personal relationship and to have like a loving personal exchange with God who is a person. Because I had always related, and I think I was sharing with him, I related to God as like just an energy or a universe, not really a person, like a father, like the creator, like a loving eternal friend or father, and the switch in concept, which I never really contemplated in a deep way in my heart, really was a touching idea. And he stayed with me for a while after that dinner, and then we went on with the next part of the program. And I stayed in touch with him, and I stayed in touch with the facilitators of the seminar, and I just kept asking questions like, how do you cultivate your relationship with God? And I started to ask my husband, like, do you believe in God? He said yes, but he had never told me that. And I was like, why haven't we talked about this? And I asked my other friend of years, like, do you believe in God? And she said yes. And I was like, why isn't anybody talking about God? I hadn't talked about it, and I guess it was not something on other people's minds either at those times. And that was just how it was meant to be. And so I kept asking questions, And hearing about this faith tradition, this practice, and this philosophy from these facilitators and these friends that I was sort of coming into contact with. And I don't want to keep it a big secret or anything. I'll share now. The book of study is called the Bhagavad-gita, and it's an ancient Vedic tradition. The practice is called bhakti yoga. Bhakti means loving devotion to God, and yoga means to connect with God. So it's a universal principle. It is, you can see bhakti in every, spiritual, monotheistic spiritual path, like the major religions have the intention to cultivate love and service to God. I had never heard of this concept really, or any way that moved me or connected to me. And I just kept asking questions, and eventually I attended discussions, and I tried out the practice, and I was just experimenting and reading and thinking and, praying. And it was the summer of 2014, and I was still 9 years ago. And I was, having like a spiritual awakening. And it was not comfortable. It was vulnerable for me to have a personal, like, private spiritual life in my heart and within. It was vulnerable to pray. And like, also I felt scared. Like, what if I love this idea of God now? Like, I love this idea. I love this idea of devotion to God. It's so beautiful. It makes perfect sense. And previously it was difficult to conceive of God as a person, but I did conceive of God. I did have a concept of absolute truth. Like, there is an absolute truth. That always made sense to me. And so initially, as I was like trying on this idea of devotion to the absolute truth, that was already my personal value system. So that's already fine. Devotion to the absolute truth and service and loving service to the absolute truth. Like, I can get behind that. Now, does the absolute truth have personhood? I'm open to that. So I was, who am I to say? Who's anyone to say that the absolute truth, the source of everything, doesn't have personhood? We have personhood. The effect of the source has personhood. So the cause of everything could have personhood. And therefore what is the relationship between everything that expands from the source? And if there's personhood, there's two people, then what do you have in between? You have loving exchange. I think that would make sense, because I see that in the essence of two souls on this planet. Like, you can see it and experience that. There's a natural, like, loving and caring for each other here. That's part of the species of the human species. You can see it. You can see people's, like, loving spirit, and I understand that some people are covered over and have been traumatized or hurt or caused pain, and they're hurting, and it's difficult to see, but you can easily see it in our young and children, that beautiful, loving, caring spirit. And so just from that, I can guess that the relationship between me and the divine, me and God, would be loving exchange. And the only thing is, I wasn't giving back to God all that I was giving, all the blessings and love that I was given from God. I was not returning to God with gratitude. I was seeing that I was the source of my life, and everything that went well or everything that went bad, it was all coming back to me, and forgetting that God could possibly have a hand in my life. So this practice of bhakti yoga, I'll just share about it. There's an essential tool and practice, which is chanting or singing the names of God. And it can be any name of God. And in different religions, there are practices where people they pray on beads, they chant on beads, or they have rituals of the songs that they sing. There's names of God, and people have either songs or prayers or verses. And in this practice, there's a mantra. And so I was doing mantra meditation as my way to spend time with God. And I would pray too, but there was also this this concept that I liked, so I tried it on, which is by speaking the name of God, you're invoking the presence of God because God is absolute. So there's not like a distinction between God's name and who he is. So the name of God has potency and it has a transformative effect because you're invoking the presence of God. God is absolute, so there's no relativity. Like when I say the word water, that doesn't mean that water exists in that moment. There's actually something different between the word and the actual thing of water. But with God, the name is synonymous with the person. So there's a presence in the name. And it's not like you can make up any name. The names are given to us by, and this is something that you may not agree with or believe, but this is just a principle that I'm sharing with you that I'm trying on for size, and it resonates with me, that God sends representatives, bona fide, pure representatives to clarify for humanity, like the way of the soul and the way back to him. So anyway, there's a mantra. The mantra that I have been chanting and singing and using that has transformed my life more than any other personal growth method I've ever tried. It's called the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is what it sounds like. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so Hare Krishna and Rama are Sanskrit words, and those are names of God. Put in the comments what part of the story you want to hear more of. How about that? And I'll pick up from wherever you tell me that what you need to hear next. But I'll just say that the Bhagavad-gita itself, it teaches humanity how to live as an instrument of God in all different areas of life, how to transform your consciousness so that you can be in devotion to God in all areas of life, all throughout the day, in every way that you're living. There's a way to do it. And it's very insightful, and in my experience, it's non-sectarian philosophy, even though, yes, there's Sanskrit words and there's names of God that don't sound familiar to other parts of the planet. And I don't think that's essential, that people are transforming to a specific practice. The main thing is that wherever you are at in your spiritual tradition, that you're cultivating devotion to the divine, devotion to God. And by doing that, you're purifying the heart and you're realigning with your essential nature, which is a loving servant of the absolute truth, a loving servant of God. And that's what I stand by. And I could share a lot more about this. I want to share on this channel about spirituality, God, relationships with children, play, and comedy, and anything else that I want to share about. And I thank you for listening, and I'll share more. And I don't know what's going to happen next. If you don't tell me, it's just going to be whatever. But that's what happened today. Okay. Thanks. Bye.